What's up guys, how you all doing? Welcome to another video. So today we're taking a first look at the Canon R6 Mark II. That's right, the R6 Mark II has kind of snuck up on us a little bit. I didn't really hear too much about it. It was rumoured that there was going to be one at some point, and suddenly, bang, here it is, there's the specs, there's the pictures, and it's available for pre-order. So it all happened pretty quick. Now, of course, right now, I don't think really anyone in the UK, are probably, apart from people who are best mates with the Canon directors, actually have an R6 Mark II, but we're going to have a look at the pictures of it, the specs, going to talk about how it compares with the R6, and certainly share my initial observations and my initial thoughts. I know some of you guys are going to be thinking, Rob, the R6 Mark II, what about the R7? Well, honestly, the R7 just became so difficult to try and get hold of, and if I looked at trying to get a grey market one imported, that was going to cost even more than buying just the one direct from Canon UK, so I actually thought, you know what, I'm just going to hold off on that for a few weeks. That still will come. We're going to have R6 videos about, you know, how to use it for sports, how to set it up for sports, all that's going to come, don't worry. But today, our focus is going to briefly switch to the Canon R6 Mark II. Before we get into it, I'm going to ask you guys to do all the usual YouTube stuff for me. Hit the like button, make sure you subscribe if you haven't already. It helps me out loads and loads on this channel, and I really do appreciate it. So right, I've got my laptop open here, I've got pictures of the R6, I've got all the specs. Let's have a look at it. First of all, let's talk specs. What's up guys, forgive me, I am briefly interrupting this video just to let you know that we've got a special promotion right now over on my website on my Lightroom presets. You can get my general Lightroom presets pack, which includes things like early morning blues, fiery landscape, faded film. You can get my sports pack, which includes things like my sports starter preset, my cold as ice, my dramatic black and white, all the reds, and of course you can get my free starter sports preset. Also, if you head over there to the website, in the checkout, you can use the code YTube10, and that's going to get you 10% off any of those preset packs that you would like. With one simple click in Lightroom, you can turn your image from something regular into a cool edited photo. Go check them out, link is in the description. Right, back to Rob for the video. Cool, so this is not going to be a line-for-line spec comparison, but certainly going to talk about the key ones, and then look at how they compare with the Canon R6, the original, the Mark I. So first of all, the sensor, right? That's what everyone wants to talk about. Looks like we've got a 24 megapixel sensor coming with the R6 Mark II. That compares with the 20 megapixels of the R6, and that kind of puts it on a level with the R3, I think is 24 megapixels, the Nikon Z6 II, that is 24 megapixels, so kind of gives it that extra little bump. It's not up there with the big megapixel sensors, the 45s and stuff like that, but certainly I think good enough for what this camera is designed for, with sports, action, wildlife, and a little increase from the R6 Mark I. So pretty good for me, I think. 24 megapixel sensor is fairly decent. When you then start looking at the frames per second, the speed of the camera, one of the things that might be slightly disappointing for some people is that the mechanical shutter is the same as the original, 12 frames per second using the mechanical shutter. Now, the insane thing here is when you start to look at the electronic shutter, we're talking 40 frames per second with that R6 Mark II. That compares with the 20 frames per second of the R6 on the electronic shutter, and from using that a lot myself, I know, boy, you get a lot of frames from 20 frames per second. 40 frames per second is just going to be insane, to be honest. More than I'm going to need, certainly. But the mechanical shutter is the same, 12 frames per second. I'll touch briefly on some of the video specs for you video guys out there. One of the big changes between the R6 and the Mark II is that you can now shoot 6K video with the R6 Mark II. That compares with the 4K maximum of the R6. 6K, cool. To be honest, for me, 4K is all I need. And actually, a lot of my videos, like this video you guys are watching right now, is shot in 1080p. I actually don't use 4K that often, and I can't imagine that I would really need 6K. But it's there, and it's cool, and it's quite a big step up from the 4K in the R6, so decent video. Okay, from some of those highlighted specs, we're going to move into one of the things that is the big topic, and one of the things I talked about in my previous video when I was saying about what's important in a camera, and that is autofocus capability. Now, apparently the R6 Mark II has taken more of its kind of technology, more of its autofocus system from the R3, and we all know that the Canon R3 is supposed to be outstanding autofocus. Now, don't get me wrong, the R6 is incredible autofocus, but the R3 is like a cheat code for autofocus, so this is really exciting. With the R6, it has the ability to track people and vehicles, and it's got the eye autofocus, whereas the R6 Mark II has optimized modes for cars, motorcycles, different animals, I think horses, detecting eye and head autofocus, and so taking a lot of that R3 system, and that does sound really exciting. The eye detect autofocus in the R6 is cool, but with the R6 Mark II, it apparently has the ability to detect right or left eye, and will automatically work out which one is closest and lock onto that. So certainly good for you guys shooting portraits, maybe if they're at an angle, for example. It sounds like a decent autofocus system. Before we start looking at the actual physical pictures of the camera, one of the other things that's quite interesting here is the price. Now, here in the UK, you can pre-order the R6 Mark II right now for just under £2,800. I believe in the US, that's currently $2,500. So the price point compared to the original R6, we're only talking a few £100s or dollars more than the original R6, which feels like a really good price point for what this camera potentially is going to be. Pre-orders right now in the UK are available for early December, but there's already talk that that might get pushed back. I know from my own experience with the R7 availability, and you guys who are waiting for those R3s, Canon has a bit of a track record for not delivering cameras very quick, and so there is a risk that we might be looking at late December, maybe even after Christmas, January, to actually see a lot of these R6 Mark IIs in people's hands. Okay, so look, let's look at the pictures of this camera and see how it compares with the R6. I'm going to put these on the screen as I'm talking about them, of course. So first of all, the picture here from the front. Well, it kind of looks the same as the R6. It literally looks the same. Of course, it has the little R6 Mark II logo in the corner, which is the biggest thing we all want, right? But otherwise, it looks pretty much the same, I think. It's got that customizable button on the bottom left as we're looking at it. Everything else looks pretty much similar. So let's look at this photo from the back. And is that exactly the same? I think that might be exactly the same. The dial there, yep, those. Yep, I think the back is exactly the same as well. So we're not seeing a huge amount of difference. And actually, this isn't necessarily a bad thing. I think someone who's going to have the R6 and the R6 Mark II, you don't want it to be hugely different with the ergonomics of the camera, especially for switching from one to the other. So the fact that it's pretty much the same, it is probably a good thing. Let's check out one of these side photos. That's the one with the ports. We got mic, HDMI, headphone, shutter, USB. Yep, that all looks the same as well from the side. Let's check it out from the other side. Yep, we're gonna drift over that one because that looks the same as well. Now, the one where I believe we have got some differences is the one on the top-down photo. And yeah, we do. So the actual setout of it is kind of the same. We've got the twisty dial. There's no screen on the top, which we're already familiar with the R6 compared to the R5 that does have the screen on the top. The change seems to be that currently the on-off switch on the R6 is over there on the left-hand side, whereas that now seems to have changed to be the switch that goes from stills to video, and then the on and off switch is kind of on the front of that twisty dial on the top, which is fine, won't make too much difference. I think everything else is the same, right? The dial on the top there, the record button, shutter, yep, that looks pretty much the same. We're going to take a quick look at the photo on the bottom just in case. Nope, there's no change there at all. A few other little bits and bobs to get rounded off. So the battery takes the same battery as the R6. Now, someone might have to help me in the comments of what that's called. It's like the LP6N or something like that. That's my guess. E6N, that's my guess. Did I get it right? You guys can score me in the comments on that one. Memory cards, same as the R6. It has 2 SD card slots, so same setup as the R6 Mark I. And I think those are probably the main key bits. So what's my thoughts? Have I pre-ordered an R6 Mark II? II. Am I going to say to you guys, quickly, rush out and pre-order your R6 Mark II? Well, in all honesty, no, I'm not, and I haven't either. And that's for me, because I don't feel like the R6 Mark II is going to give me anything huge that my R6 doesn't already give me. And of course, whilst it's only a few £100 more than the R6, you know, I have to have the funds to upgrade to that camera, and I've already got some funds reserved for the R7, so, you know, it's easier said than done. And when you look at the key benefits, okay, great, so I could shoot 6K video instead of 4K, well, I don't think I'm really going to need that right now. And I could shoot 40 frames per second electronic shutter instead of 20. Well, I don't really think I need that either. And so for me, the requirement or the benefit from switching to the R6 to the R6 Mark II, right now, I'm just not sure that it's there. And it's not something that I will be rushing to do. But what I will say, if you're somebody who doesn't own the R6 and you're looking at buying a camera and thinking, oh, should I buy the R6 or should I buy the R6 Mark II? I would say, without doubt, buy the R6 Mark II. It's the newer camera, you do get those benefits of the extra things that the R6 can't do, and it's only a few £100s. So if you're going to be shelling out, you know, 2,200 or 2,500, if you can, stretch that extra 300 and get the Mark II. However, if you're somebody who already owns an R6, whether or not it's worth the upgrade to then move to the Mark II, I'm not so sure. So kind of two different scenarios depending on your personal situation. I hope you guys found that useful. If you did, hit the like button. Make sure you comment below and let me know what you think about the R6 Mark II. I'm really interested to hear. In the meantime, guys, thank you very much for watching. I will see you on the next video.